The house was quiet that night. Too quiet. Emma, the middle daughter, had come home earlier than expected. She pushed open the front door, expecting the familiar comfort of her home, her mother humming in the kitchen, pots clattering, her father stretched out on the couch with the evening news playing softly in the background. But instead, the living room was half-lit, shadows stretching across the walls, and the air felt strangely heavy. Then she heard it, voices. A low murmur, followed by the delicate sound of a woman's laughter. Her steps froze. It wasn't her mother's laugh. Emma's heart began to pound, her stomach twisting with a sense of dread she couldn't yet name. She moved forward slowly, her sneakers barely making a sound against the hardwood floor. As she approached the living room doorway, the voices grew clearer. She could hear her father speaking softly, tenderly, with a tone she hadn't heard him use at home in years. And then she saw them. Her father sat on the couch, his arm wrapped around a woman Emma had never seen before. The stranger leaned into him, her head resting against his shoulder, their faces far too close, their bodies comfortable in a way that screamed of more than friendship. She whispered something into his ear, and he smiled in a way Emma hadn't seen him smile at her mother in a very long time. The world collapsed. "Dad!" Emma's voice cracked the air like shattered glass. Her father jumped up instantly, pulling his arm away as if the woman burned him. The stranger's eyes widened in panic. She grabbed her purse, her face pale, and without a single word, rushed out of the house, the front door slamming shut behind her. Silence swallowed the room. Emma stood in the doorway, her breath ragged, her hands trembling. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring her vision. Her father tried to step forward. "Emma, it's not." She raised her hand sharply, stopping him in his tracks. Her voice shook, but it was steady enough to cut through his excuses. Don't you dare lie to me." Her father's face fell, guilt etched into every line. He opened his mouth, but no words came. And then footsteps. From upstairs, her mother's voice echoed faintly. "Emma? What's going on?" Emma's eyes widened in panic. She turned to the staircase, just as her mother appeared at the top. She was holding a cup of tea, her slippers softly patting on the steps as she descended. But then she froze. She had heard the unfamiliar voice. She had heard Emma's cry. Her eyes darted from Emma's face to her husband standing in the living room, his posture guilty, frozen. The truth spilled into her consciousness before a single explanation was given. The cup slipped from her hand. It tumbled down the steps, shattering into dozens of pieces across the floor, hot tea splattering across the tiles. The sound echoed like a gunshot through the house. For a moment, no one breathed. "Is it true?" Her mother's voice was broken, barely a whisper, but laced with devastating weight. Emma's father lowered his head. His silence was the only answer she needed. Her mother's knees buckled slightly as she gripped the railing, trying to steady herself. Her eyes filled with tears as she blinked back in vain, her chest rising and falling rapidly as if her body itself was rejecting the truth. Emma's voice broke again. "I saw everything, Mom. He wasn't alone." Her mother's lips trembled. She turned her gaze back to her husband, her voice now sharp with anger and grief. "After everything I gave you? After everything we built together?" Her husband took a tentative step forward. "Please listen." But she cut him off with a cry that came from the depths of her soul. Don't you dare make excuses." Her voice cracked, her hands trembling as she pointed toward the door. "You brought her into our home, into this house where our children live. You didn't just betray me, you humiliated all of us." Emma stood frozen, her tears falling freely now. Her heart ached for her mother, for her siblings upstairs who hadn't yet witnessed the destruction unraveling below. She wanted to scream, to rage, to collapse. Her father's shoulders slumped. His face was pale, his eyes wet with regret, but it was too late. "I'm sorry." The words barely left his lips, almost inaudible. Her mother laughed bitterly, hollow and sharp. "Sorry? That word doesn't erase the months of lies. Sorry doesn't fix what you've destroyed." He tried once more to reach for her, but she stepped back as though his very presence poisoned the air. "Leave." Her voice was low, steady, final. He froze. Emma felt her chest tighten. She knew what was happening, but hearing the words spoken aloud made it real. Her father hesitated for a moment, his eyes darting between his wife and his daughter, as if searching desperately for forgiveness in their faces. But none came, and so, slowly he turned toward the door. His steps were heavy, dragging, and when the door finally closed behind him, the slam reverberated like thunder, blending with the storm that had begun outside. Rain lashed against the windows, wind howling through the cracks, nature itself raging as if it too shared in the betrayal. Inside, silence fell. Her mother collapsed onto the bottom step, burying her face in her hands, sobs racking her body. Emma ran to her, wrapping her arms around her tightly, whispering through her own tears, "I'm here, Mom. I'm here." The shards of the broken cup still glittered on the floor, a painful reminder that nothing would ever be whole again. That night, the house that had once been a home became something else entirely. The air was heavy with grief, the walls echoing with unspoken words, the foundation shaken by the weight of betrayal. And Emma knew, with devastating certainty, that her family would never return to what it once was.